Hello, Ohio. Welcome once again to the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton of Axum Planning and Wealth. He is a retirement planning specialist. I am your host, Spike Spangle, and we are going to get into your retirement solutions. Tim Lofton, what's on your mind this week, my friend?
Well, we're going to talk about income in retirement and where people are going to get that.
Right. Well, it used to be that we'd get these wonderful pension plans. At least I have read in the history books.
It's been rumored that these things exist, right?
You used to get pension plans. You used to get a sheet cake. You used to get a gold-plated watch.
Yes.
I never understood why you needed a watch when you were going to retirement. What do you need to be on time for now? But anywho, I guess those days are far behind us, and now we need to create our own income stream in retirement. Mm-hmm. So today we're going to talk about literally creating our own pension plan. You might say to yourself, I don't have a pension. I'll tell you what, folks, neither do I personally, but we want to create our own pension. And there are tools out there. Yes, some of them start with our own 401ks and how do we methodically take money from them, but maybe there are some other solutions out there as well. Starts with this story. You and I have talked many times on the radio program. We do a weekly radio show, but it's nice to see your face in person. Tim.
Right.
Good to see you.
I don't have to smile, though, on radio. Well, I guess I do.
Yeah, no, but I'm glad to see you in pants today. That's a change from the radio show. From this story here, though, Tim, we've talked about it a lot, actually over the last 6 months, because the numbers just keep going up. Annuities being sold in record numbers right now, record numbers.
And I'm going to push back on that, Spike. It's not that they're being sold, they're being bought. They're being sought out. And, you know, there's a reason as to why over $180 billion has poured into annuities over just this year alone.
Right, and you are correct. It's the American public going, I'm looking for a better solution, something I can count on. From what they say, I put X amount of dollars into it, I leave it in the contract for a certain period of time, and it cannot stop paying me income until I pass away, and sometimes in some of them, even when my spouse passes away. But every quarter since the third quarter of last year, record-breaking, purchases, as you say, but sales, folks are just piling into this. Now, is this a good wave to be following? How do you feel about it?
It could be a good wave. You know, we talk about every day on radio and TV, not saying the words always and never. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think people get into trouble is they'll read a headline like that and say, oh, I should get one of those. Well, maybe or maybe not. You know, there's a lot of things that annuities do well, and there's some things that annuities don't do well. They're certainly not a fit for everyone. That's the danger that we run into, is that sometimes these are missold. Sometimes the product itself is not all that great, and they have earned a bad reputation over time. You don't have to spend a lot of time on Google to figure out that there's a lot of bad things out there about annuities. But here's the thing that I know everyone likes that actually ends up with one for the right reasons. And if it is for creating a pension, for creating income that you know is going to come for the rest of your life, that is indeed a pension. It's exactly what a pension is. If you were lucky enough to work 30 years at a company that had a pension, that's what they're doing, is they're taking a lump sum of money, they're buying an annuity and giving you a check in your mailbox every month. When you do it, when you take control and buy an annuity, the difference is that you're in control. You get to pick what type of products you get. You get to pick some features and benefits if you need them. You also have access to the principal, not that that's what it's designed for, but that is an option you don't have usually with an annuity. And more importantly, if you pass away, they can be set up to give your spouse lifetime income at still a much higher rate than a lot of times what you see benefits on a pension are sometimes 50% or less of what the actual income started out to be.
I want to roll backwards though. You're saying that this is literally what the company would do back in the day if they were creating the pension for you, is they would turn it into an annuity with a large insurance company and let them take care of it? It's just now we're doing it ourselves?
That's exactly right. You're looking at a corporation doesn't want to have the risk of the market and other things to be paying out a defined benefit to employees. I mean, you look at it like a General Motors or somebody like that has, you know, the largest portion of their profitability coming in goes to pay pension payments, to pay healthcare costs for their retired employees, not their current employees, but their retired employees. So when a company can offset that risk by buying an annuity that they know is going to give guaranteed income, it's an easy choice for them. Right. The thing a lot of times people don't recognize or realize is that they can do that for themselves. They can do that exact same process and have even more control than what they would have had in a standard pension.
If you would like to verify these statistics on your own, you can go to LIMRA. I believe it's LIMRA.com. I'm not sure if it's LIMRA or .org. But LIMRA is the reporting organization telling us about these numbers right now. This isn't Tim and I saying it. Record sales in things like annuities. Part of this comes from a study that was done as well by BlackRock, saying that 90% of employees that were surveyed in this study would like to have some portion of their retirement accounts guaranteed for the rest of their life. That's what was called a pension. But Tim, we're offered stock funds and bond funds, or maybe target date funds inside those retirement accounts. Why don't we get one of these options inside of our retirement accounts that we're self-saving in?
Well, it's going to be interesting as we are seeing an aging in America. Remember, there's 7 people every minute of every day turning 65 today. And that type of number, when you start looking at that group of people, I think you're going to start to see these type of options come to light. That hasn't happened yet, but you know, as we see people working longer, into their late 60s, into their 70s, they're going to demand something like this, or they simply take advantage of that in-service rollover that they're eligible for out of their 401k, where they can take money from their 401k, even though they're still working at the company, roll it into an IRA and take advantage of these type of opportunities for their retirement income planning.
Okay, I would like to ask you just a little bit more about an in-service withdrawal, some of the do's and don'ts of that when we get back from this break real quick. Folks, if you would like to get started on your own retirement blueprint, call the phone number you see right down here. We can help you determine what could be in your best interest to make sure that you don't run out of money in retirement. Many of you out there likely do not have a pension plan. If we can set up your own privatized pension plan with your own savings and tools, wouldn't you like to make sure that you and your spouse don't run out of money in retirement? That's why we put together the Retirement Blueprint. It is complimentary to the viewers of our program and our radio show. So call the phone number right here, schedule your own appointment, come on in. More with Tim Lofton right after this.
It goes back actually when I was 11 years old. That was the first time I discovered what not having money felt like. I remember being in Sunday school class and one of the parents came in to let us know that the ski trip, which was kind of a rite of passage at 12, was coming up. And so I got my permission slip and class got out and I was that kid. I was like running through the church and up the stairs and weaving in and out of people and got into the sanctuary and I looked at the very back of the sanctuary and I saw my mom and she was there with 2 or 3 other ladies and they were talking. And I took off at a dead sprint and I'm waving this piece of paper and talking a mile a minute and I get to her and she's like, "Wait, honey, what is it that you're saying?" I said, "Mom," I said, "I can go. Like, I'm gonna be 12, I can go." And she's like, go to what? I'm like, the ski trip, the youth group ski trip. And I'll never forget it. She got down on one knee and she wrapped her arms around me and she said, "Baby," she said, we can't afford that this year." And it wasn't the disappointment of not being able to go on the trip. It was the look in her eyes that she couldn't afford it and that she couldn't do that for me. And I really think that that put me on the path of having a heart for helping people get to retirement, to be able to stay retired and to live their best life. And that all starts with advice. And that's what I chose to do for a living.
Welcome back to the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton. I'm your host, Spike Spangle, and we're talking about retirement solutions for you and not having regrets, especially when it comes to our financial savings. But the problem here is we don't know what we don't know, especially during those 30s and 40s and sometimes even our 50s. But you said something, the in-service withdrawal. I wanted to give that a little bit more time. That's not a phrase, unfortunately, that everybody knows about. What exactly is that again?
Well, it's not even the phrase, they don't know about the option. So most 401ks, most retirement plans, once you reach the age of 59 and a half, allow you to withdraw money from your 401k. And I'm not talking about taking it out and using it or paying taxes on it. I'm talking about rolling it over to an IRA. You can do that while still working at the company, and you can still contribute to the plan. So this doesn't end.
You don't lose the match.
You don't lose the match. You don't lose any of those things. This is simply taking a big chunk of that money. If you're in a position of saying, all right, I'm getting a little bit older here, the options that I need are not really given to me inside my 401k, and I feel stuck, that in-service withdrawal really allows, and that's really what it was designed for, to give people that flexibility where they're not, captured inside of this plan and they can't make adjustments to what they may want to do if they had other options.
In the great state of Ohio, we all know how much we love politics. We're not going to go there right now. We're going to talk about your money in retirement. But is there legislation? Is anybody out there talking about putting something like an annuity inside our retirement accounts so we can create our own guaranteed pension?
There is a couple of companies out there. They tend to be, I'm not going to say the name, but you see them in the university space. We've had multiple professors as clients that have been in those programs. And as we look at the programs, they're just very limited because they're with one company versus, having the opportunity to shop for the best thing out there. You're kind of stuck with what they have.
Right.
And so it's
always
limited.
is. Same thing with our 401ks.
Correct.
And I think the other thing is, while I'm pushing on the companies who provide 401ks or the companies themselves to provide something like, I'll say it, an annuity inside there, then I started to think about portability. It's kind of hard if you've only put 3 years in to something which is supposed to be a 6-year or 10-year growth kind of product. What do you do with that? Do you lose money on the way? So it's complicated. But the in-service withdrawal, if you're at a certain age and it allows it to happen inside that 401k, you might be able to do that and create that now. And again here, Tim, I'll ask, this isn't an all or nothing. Let's say we've got $400,000 saved into a tax-deferred retirement account. We're 61 years old. We can do the in-service withdrawal. Boy, I just said a lot there. Can I maybe take 100 or 200 of it and maybe consider creating something like that on the outside?
We had a client that did that exact same thing last month. They came in, we basically looked at what they were going to need in additional income between what they were going to receive in Social Security. The husband's wife had a pension plan, he did not. And so they had a need for a certain amount of income in addition to what they were going to be receiving, and they wanted it on a guaranteed basis. So what they did was they did a portion of their 401k as an in-service rollover to put that amount of money in place, which would allow it to grow for about 5 years, which should get them to the point of having that income. They would not have had that opportunity inside their 401k. The only way they could have accomplished this was through an in-service rollover.
And then one last thing that's starting to just kind of trickle around in the back of my head, what about the tax consequences? Can you do that rollover instead of, like we've talked about in many programs, a Roth conversion? Can you roll it out from a tax-deferred account, put it into a tax-deferred growth without having to pay taxes?
Yes. So you're not.
I got that one. I wasn't sure there. I didn't know
there
where
is
that
no
was gonna
tax
go.
bomb involved in this strategy. You're literally going from a retirement account 401k to a retirement account IRA. The check's not even made payable to you; it's made payable to the IRA. So there's no tax implications there. But I will take it one step further because you brought it up. Is that once I get that into the IRA, if I am looking at some tax strategy, possibly a Roth conversion, I have now that opportunity to do that because I now have that money in an IRA.
Okay, all right. Oh, you did take it further there. Now, do we have to figure this all out on our own, or how much can a firm like an Axon Planning and Wealth do these steps for us? Can you help us with calling my current provider, find out if I can do in-service? Will you help me identify not just a possible annuity to set up my own private pension, but one that is cost-effective, one that will actually accomplish what I want? How much of this do we have to do, or the viewer has to do on their own?
The viewer doesn't have to do anything other than give us a call, come in for a complimentary review, and let's figure out if it's even the right thing for you to do. By just giving us a call at 855-684-3485, you can schedule a complimentary review. If you're looking at your 401k right now and you're trying to figure out, does something like this make sense for me? We can give you those answers. If the answer is yes, we have a team of people that will help do all of that work for you. And more importantly, we can show you the actual numbers to make sure that it makes sense. That way you can weigh your options, understand, but more importantly, having a written plan is the key to a successful retirement.
Right. And that is the retirement blueprint, which, by the way, you created. As we were opening this segment, we were kind of talking about financial regrets. And for a lot of folks that we talk to and come in from the show and the radio show, they just wish they knew more or they knew it sooner.
Well, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably the biggest issue. It's a combination of procrastination and then just not understanding what our options are. Mm-hmm. There's been so many financial regrets that we have heard in our office over the years. Things like, I wish I'd have saved more. If I had done this a little bit differently, if we had spent a little bit less. They understand at the end of it what that impact could have been. And what we're trying to do is to get people to think about it now. And so we can maybe take some of those potential pitfalls out of your future by simply sharing with you what other clients just like you have done and what they wish they'd have done differently.
And the thing right now, Tim, is that these are very exciting times.
They are.
There are numbers out there and interest rates and certain products that haven't existed in 2 or 3 decades. Mm-hmm. The markets, yes, while volatile, they're still providing lots of opportunities, and especially in things like dividends, and now we have bonds. There is opportunity, and it seems sometimes overwhelming. But by sitting down with someone, we can take it piece by piece by piece. And this is an important element in my mind, because you say this. We work with the assets that you have. We're not trying to create and say, you need to have as much as the neighbor or this person down the street or things that you read in the news. We work with what you have to see what can happen for you in retirement and turn that into the income stream. And I think that's the difference. We work with what you have, right, Tim?
Right. By looking at your neighbor and the keeping up with the Joneses, you're going to miss out on, it's not what they want their retirement to look like, it's what you want your retirement to look like. And I get that question, probably 8 out of 10 people that sit down, they'll say something like, how am I doing? And I'm like, how are you doing compared to what? And they're like, well, compared to most people you see. And I have to remind them, are you living the life that you want to live? Are you doing the things that you want to do? Are you comfortable? Is there anything that you're doing without? Because if the answer is no, if you're happy, you're there. Life is good. And more money is not necessarily going to make that right. Now, if the answer is, I am missing out, I wish I could spend more time with the grandkids, or I wish we could do a family vacation, those are things that we can come alongside and help with.
Right.
But for both of those sets of people, it's a matter of making sure that they can retire and stay retired based on what their goals are.
Tim, we're going to take a short break right now. Don't do a comparison of what everybody else is doing in retirement. Don't believe all the pictures you see on Facebook and Instagram. You have no idea how much they bickered before they took that smiling picture. Set up your own retirement the way that you want it to be with your financial team of retirement specialists. Get your own retirement blueprint. Call the phone number you see right down here. When it comes to financial regret in retirement, we're talking about decisions that you can't undo when we get back from this break. More Tim Lofton and myself right after this.
Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Ben. Hey, birthday party for Carol and 5. Happy birthday to you.
Good morning, Ben. Ben. Happy Monday.
Daryl's birthday, be there or be square. Happy birthday to you. As you can see from our quarterly report on slide number 62, we're trending in the right direction. All signs point to a very positive outlook for the next several years. If you peel back the onion
Ben, do you have anything to add?
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
This is the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton. I am your host, Spike Spangle, and some of the regrets we have sometimes in leading up to retirement is just we don't know what we don't know, and you can't undo certain decisions.
Right.
Specifically Social Security. Well, you can kind of undo it if you turn it on within 6 to 12 months. You
12 months you can undo, and then there's
yeah,
no
but
undo.
you also got to pay it back.
You have to pay it
right?
back.
So if you've been using it, so essentially in our minds, can't really undo Social Security. So what about turning it on too early? It's still a lot of talk we hear right now. More Americans than ever are turning it on early. What's the why behind it? What do you feel about it?
Well, the why for turning it on early, at least, and we hear this every day, is, Tim, I'm worried it's going to not be there. That somehow it's just going to evaporate and everything that I've paid into it, I'm not going to get any money back out. And that is kind of an extrapolation on the statement from Social Security that it is going to decrease in the future. The numbers that we're seeing are up to 20% decline in benefit value. And that's a real thing.
That's a real thing. This isn't Tim Lofton
No.
right now espousing that. This is coming actually from the Social Security Administration themselves.
It's on the website. If you go to your Social Security page on the Social Security website, there's actually a statement in there, and it's been in there for years. So I think there's a feeling of, maybe I need to get in front of this, and I need to take it early. And it very well may make sense. When we're sitting down with clients and putting together an income plan, if they're retiring early, a lot of times we have to turn on Social Security at 62 because they need the income. I'm talking more here about people that don't need the income. Or more importantly, if you're going to continue to work, it makes no sense to turn on Social Security early because of the tax laws.
But I'm sorry, I hear that all the time. It's like, look, I'm working now. I get to really double up on this money that I don't need, even invest the money. But what is the downside of taking it while working? Let's say I'm making $90,000 a year in salary, and I turn on my Social Security at 63.
You're going to lose a big chunk of that back to taxes. It's not going to be the number that you're looking at on the screen. If you're going to continue to work, it makes sense to delay the benefit because, number one, that benefit's going to increase and you're going to be able to get a larger income number later. And more importantly, you're going to have more tax control over money that you really don't need in the first place.
Okay. So we want to make sure, but I get it. People want to pile into it, start taking that money in, maybe invest it, but please, if you haven't turned on your Social Security yet, speak with financial professionals who do this all the time. Tim isn't just a broadcaster here on TV and radio. This is what their team at Axon Planning and Wealth does every single day during the week in the offices, is help you figure out the best strategies for your specific situation. And that's why you're not saying things like always and never, because you need to sit down with these folks. Through experience, I know that one of the things that you also do is help people kind of muddle through their problems. How about this? I love the stories. I love real family stories that you help out. What about another one before we wrap up today's program?
Well, another financial regret that unfortunately, we've seen multiple times has really come down to life insurance. And I know, we're talking about life insurance and annuities in the same show. So I know both of these are hot buttons. Oh, I hate insurance. I get it. I've got life insurance. I don't like paying the life insurance premiums, but I'll tell you what I dislike more. The idea of something happening to me and my wife being stuck, my kids being stuck, not being able to fund their college educations or not being able to make sure that enough money was going to be put away for retirement because I'm no longer earning it and no longer saving it. And I wish You know, we should have some clients on with us sometime to be able to share their stories, because, you know, I hear over and over again, even people, you know, most of the time people have life insurance. They just don't have the right amount. And nobody has actually sat down with them to figure out what that amount should be. Typically, we're looking at income replacement when we talk about people that are still working. So, you know, the example that I'll give is if a spouse makes $50,000 a year and they pass away, we're short $50,000 a year. Now, I know that it would take at least $1 million of investable assets to recreate that $50,000. And then we look at their life insurance and they have, you know, a couple $100,000 through work. Well, that's going to get them through 4 years. And, you know, if you look at somebody that's 40 or 50 years old, you're talking about typically a 10 or 15 year period, which means that you're going to force, and this is what we've seen happen. Now I have to sell my house. We have to downsize. I have to uproot the family after losing a mom or a dad. Yeah. And it's so easily avoidable, because we're looking typically at term insurance, which is the least expensive of the insurances, to fix that type of problem. That's been a regret that, you know, I've seen too many times.
Right. And I know that you're a family man yourself. You've got 3 daughters all in high school, which means
I have 3 kids all in high school.
3 kids all in high school. And looking down the barrel.
As my daughter will tell you, if you look at my phone, it says her name, my favorite daughter.
But you got 3 kids. You're looking down the barrel of college. Even a working man yourself, working with this team of retirement specialists. But you've got to balance it. You know, how much are you putting away for the family? How much are you preparing for the kids? How much do you have in life insurance? But I'm sorry, I got to ask you the question. Where is the priority? You and the spouse first preparing for retirement, or making sure that the kids and the family are taken care of in case something happens to you?
You have to do both, Spike. You have to sit down and look at what you have to work with, but you can't let that limit you on, am I making a choice here? Like, I'm not going to be able to retire, or if something happens to me, my family's going to be in trouble. That's not where the give has to be. It may be, you know, not as nice a car. It may be, you know, one less vacation, but it can't be, I'm not going to retire, or I'm going to leave my family out in the cold.
Right. And I know that these are some of the tough decisions and plans that you help people put together. Tim, thank you so much. I'll see you on the radio pipes this weekend. Thank you so much for watching the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton. Get your own complimentary retirement blueprint, your plan for retirement at no cost, by calling the phone number right here. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again next week.